Obesity is a complex chronic disease that impacts hundreds of millions of people worldwide. A recent study showed that at least half of South Africans are either overweight or obese. Now, this means that 50% of our country is at risk of or are currently battling diseases like type 2 diabetes and heart diseases. So to answer critical questions around obesity, we have registered dietitian Tracy Ugarchund with us in the loft. Welcome back, Tracy.
Oh, thank you. Great to be back.
It's so lovely to have you here again.
Unfortunately, some gloomy statistics there.
Yes, absolutely. I was just about to say, this is it's a pandemic.
Absolutely. And it's global, and South Africa, as you've just now rightly said, there's no exception there.
Yeah.
And it is quite scary, but it's time to stand up and do something about it.
So, I mean, there's so many questions I want to ask you. I think the first one would be, how does one get to that place where you are obese?
I think
because it's not just simple, right?
Yes.
It's a complex...
Multifactorial is exactly what it is. I want to first just add to the statistics that you've now just mentioned, that of those, 20 million people in South Africa are living with obesity. And of the 20 million, 70% of all those people is women. And so it's women in this country that are battling with obesity far more than the men. And this brings us to the factors. So when we look at it, one of the huge factors, I mean, genetics definitely do play a role. We've seen from twin experiments that your genes, the genes make you a loaded gun, Zoraida, but it doesn't, your lifestyle pulls the trigger, 100%, right? So we need to remember that. But back to the factors and the causes of obesity, we look at the environment is unfortunately a huge cause. We have fast food at every second corner. We've got processed and ultra-processed foods available to us all the time. If we look at a typical diet, we start the day off with sugary cereals. We then move on to processed meats like hot dogs and chicken nuggets. We then finish off with 2-minute noodles. It's processed foods all around. And these are one of the contributors to weight gain. But then again, when we look at the factors, stress, chronic stress, interestingly enough, is actually a huge factor. And when we come back to women being affected by obesity far more than men, and we look at the stress that women hold, especially in our country, South Africa, we look at women being exposed to domestic violence. Women literally carry the weight of households on their shoulders. So women are the ones that need to make sure that there's food on the table, and in many cases, hold the financial burdens. They're the ones that have children, that are pregnant. Often men are not around, and I'm not saying in all cases, but women do hold a lot of the stress, and this continuous stress has been linked to an increase in our hormone cortisol, and the cortisol is what then, it's our stress hormone. It leads to weight gain and increased appetite. So these are the things that are contributing to weight gain. And I must mention, before I go on, we also have to look at the perceptions here in our country, South Africa specifically. It is actually, Zoraida, you would not believe it. Studies have shown that it seemed to be that if you are able to afford takeouts, if you are overweight, then you are actually wealthy, that you are then not sick. And this is not true. We need to break those perceptions. We need to change that thinking. It is your health is actually your wealth.
Absolutely. So how do we make those changes? I mean, we've got you for another segment of the show, and I can't wait to dive in deeper. But where do we start with that mindset changes? Because it's quite clear that being obese is also linked to mental health, right? Mental health challenges.
100%. So I'm not too sure, Zoraida, whether, I know you've got a busy lifestyle, but have you had a chance to read the book, The Food-Mood Connection yet, or have you heard of it?
No, but I know that my mood is connected to food, so I can tell you I already relate.
So there's that. And then there's also a documentary that's just been released called Hack Your Health. So I'd love for you to check it out. But those two resources show us the intricate connection between your gut and your brain. So there's the gut-brain axis. And we know that the foods we eat directly can affect our weight in terms of the energy and there's lots of factors, but the energy is the one thing. But also the food you eat can affect your microbiome. Now, let me tell you about the microbiome very quickly.
Break it down for us.
It is the bacteria living in the gut, right? Yeah. And no two microbiomes are the same. So yours is very different from mine, very different from the cameraman. And it's all related to our upbringing, our stress levels, the food we eat. But this microbiome really dictates to what our immune system is like. It dictates to what our digestive health is like, whether we're obese or not, and whether we have a good mood or not. Yeah. So if we feed the microbiome correctly, and it starts off with simple things, healthy food, more fruit and vegetable, more plant proteins, simple things like that, feed the microbiome. Studies have actually shown that the microbiome of lean people is very different from that of overweight and obese people.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And that's extremely interesting. So what are lean people doing correctly that obese people are not? So we need to look at that, or scientists are looking at it. But as I said, it can be quite simple what you can do to improve.
So am I right in saying they call the microbiome the second brain, right? Because 100%. It's that important. Yes. So what I hear you say is that there's a lot that is within our control, which is exciting.
We can be our own pharmacists.
Yeah,
absolutely. We can supply ourselves with our own potions and pills and nutrients, but through our food.
Yeah. Tracy, thank you so much. I can't wait for us to deep dive into the practicals of it all.
Thank you.
While obesity is common, it can be managed by a few changes to one's lifestyle. A little bit later on, Tracy is going to talk about what to eat, what not to eat, and portion sizes. On social media, we would like to know from you, obesity impacts millions of people worldwide. What is your #1 tip to maintaining a healthy lifestyle? Don't forget to use the hashtag #AfternoonExpress, and we'll see you in a bit.